See?
Thank you, Kelsey. She's going first? Okay. Well, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Bobby Joe, and I'm an addict.
Hey, Bobby Joe.
First off, I have no clue what I'm doing, so we're just going to kind of wing it. My clean date is 11/11/15, and life before that was absolutely disgusting and messy and gross and horrifying. I did not grow up in a good and loving household. My mom is one of us. So for anybody that knows what an addict is, you know exactly what that entails as a parent. There was never food in the house. She was, married to a raging, alcoholic, violent person. And so, I was 6, 7, 8 years old running through the trailer park having to call the police because my mom's getting her ass whooped. And that kind of started everything, seeing the violence and seeing the alcohol and seeing the drug use, because they would literally lock themselves in their bedrooms and smoke pot. And I'm like, what's that funny, cool smell coming out from up under the door? And, we all had DARE in school. They taught us what to look for. They taught us the signs. And you begin to get curious. So I think I was 8 or 9 the first time that I smoked pot. And I hated it. Loathed. It made me go to sleep. I want to be awake. Fast forward a little bit later, first time that I used, I was 13. My drug of choice is amphetamines. And from the moment that I did it, I fell in love. The topic of this workshop is desire, to stop using. And I experienced my first desire at that age. I wanted to change how I felt. I wanted to be pretty. I wanted to be accepted. I didn't want to be the weird kid that nobody could ever come to their house because their parents are drug addicts. Because once I started, I finally had friends. Once I started, I wasn't locked out of the bedrooms anymore because I started using with my parents. We ended up making it like a whole family affair. It was me and my stepdad and my mom and my brother and my sister and all of the cousins and all of the aunts and uncles. And I felt happy finally because we would do fun things, like I would get to play darts or color or paint. And I finally felt wanted in my own house by my own family. And so that just snowballed into everything else, because once I had that, it escalated to men. The more drugs that I use, the skinnier I get, the prettier I am, the more that the men want to be around me. And, that was the second thing that I fell in love with. And it wasn't even so much the men itself, it was the the need to be desired. Both of those things are absolutely horrible. I ended up using for 15 years, so 13 to 28. Had 3 kids throughout the process. I actually stopped using whenever I was pregnant with my son, so I was 16 whenever I got pregnant with him. Both of my daughters I used the entire time I was pregnant. One was even born with it in her system. I ended up getting locked up 7 days after I had her, while she was still in ICU. My last time using was November 11th, 2015, and I was sitting in Carroll County Jail. A friend of mine had come in with it in her pocket, her man-made pocket, and was like, here, yeah. She was like, here, I don't want this, you can have it. And, my last experience using was chaos. I ended up getting the whole jail, the women's side of the jail, locked down because I was handing that shit out like candy. They knew that something was up because none of the women on the entire hall were eating lunch, dinner, or breakfast. And they had to bring in the canines and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I ended up getting sentenced to RSAT. And that is where my recovery started, because I had someone on the outside that I had used with for a very, very long time. And he was clean. He was at a rehab facility in Gainesville. And I didn't know it then, but he was literally spoon-feeding me Narcotics Anonymous. Because through him, I learned that it's okay to experience all the bad shit. It's okay to have to fight every day for your fucking recovery. There's children. He had things that I wanted. He had a job, and he had a car, and he was seeing his kids, and, he was clean. And he was making friends. Like, who makes friends? That was not a concept that I even understood back then. Fresh out of prison, 2 days, I go to my first NA meeting. My first NA meeting was at the Halt Club at the Down Under. And I finally felt like I was home. I didn't have to be skinny, and I didn't have to be pretty, and I didn't have to be strung out for these people to love me and hug me and tell me that they wanted me around and keep coming back and everything that entails. It just kind of solidified, like, I'm going to be okay. I ended up being, what is it? What do they call it? Voluntold? No. You have to, court mandated? There's some kind of cute little saying that they have for that.
Not legally encouraged?
Yeah, there you go. Legally encouraged. And I was that person that had to have my paper signed for like 6 months. I didn't care, though. I didn't care if I had to have that paper signed, because I finally had something in my life that I had never had before. And it's as simple as the topic is: a desire to stop using. Things are easy when we love what we do. Throughout my recovery, I think I've been through more shitty stuff in my recovery than I did all of my years of using. And I don't say that as the situations itself. I say that as learning how to cope with things. Because before it was easy. Oh, he cheated on me? Fuck, I'm just gonna go fuck his best friend. I don't do that today. Today I sit in my feelings. Today I use my network. Today I call my sponsor. Today, when shitty things happen, I go to a meeting and I share about it. I wrote this down earlier because I don't know if y'all have ever did your steps in the worksheets, but that's how I did mine. And it wants you to literally define each word of the step that you're working. So what I did this morning is I looked up the definition for desire, stop, and using. So for a desire, it's a strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing something to happen. Stop, an event, action, or process coming to an end, cease to happen. Using, take or consume an amount of from a limited supply. I think it's really ironic that the definition for using is, oh God, I forgot it now, a limited supply. Because in NA, it's unlimited. I love the slogan, it works if you work it. I fight for my recovery today 10 times harder than I ever fought to get high, because getting high got easy. It was easy. All the time it was fucking easy. Throughout my recovery, there's been a few times where I lost that desire to stop using. where I come really close. And because I am so involved with NA, and because I do what I am suggested by my predecessors and from other people, some people have less clean time than me, I made it through those situations. Shitty marriages, shitty marriage. Recently had to deal with my fiance roughly cheating on me for like 7 months with my daughter's 12-year-old best friend. So going through big things like that is devastating and terrifying, and it made me question, like, why the fuck am I clean? Why am I doing this? Is this what happens to normal people? Like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. I want to cope with how I'm feeling. And so I relapsed, but not on drugs. The past couple months have been a little rough for me because I've relapsed on men. And it makes me feel shitty, even though, like, I know that I'm not supposed to be doing all kind of stuff like this. But in my head, I'm telling myself, like, at least it's not meth. At least it's not benzos. Sometimes I feel like healing should come quickly, and I think that we all feel like that in here. And there are some things that I'm still healing from. At the forefront of my brain, there is always that desire to stop using, to continue to stay clean. I was confronted recently, like a month and a half ago, with a situation that was very awakening for me, because this was after all of the stuff with the ex-fiance, and all I could think about was relapse. Relapse has not been a part of my story. Like, I have one white chip, period. And all I could think about for like a month was, I'm just going to go get high. I want to change how I feel. My youngest daughter's father ended up getting locked up, and he lives on the same property with his mom. And I went over there one day to take my daughter over there, and she was like, let's go look down here, blah, blah, blah. And this is probably one of the toughest situations that I've ever been in, clean, being directly involved with drugs and paraphernalia. But we had got down there to his little camper, and this was in the midst of all of the chaos inside of my brain. And we go in, and there's literally paraphernalia everywhere. The pipes, the spoons, the cotton balls, dirty rigs, sacks everywhere. And his mom immediately starts crying, like, I can't have this on my property. I don't know who to call. I don't know what to do. It was the perfect time for me to use, and nobody would ever know, because I'm the one that cleaned it up. Even when my life was fucking shitty, and I was confronted with it, it was in my face, it was in my hands. We admitted that we were powerless over our disease, that our lives become unmanageable. I don't want to go back to that. Today I choose recovery. No matter what that costs to my brain, because my brain just wants release, my brain wants happiness, my brain wants peace. And I know that at the end of the day, if I use, I will lose everything. I have loved my journey through recovery. I love my sponsor. I love my fellowship. I love my friends. I have friends, like female friends today, that I can call on. And that's something that I never imagined would happen. I've worked my steps, most of them. I stopped at like 11, but that's because my sponsor had some stuff going on. And then I had stuff going on, and I just haven't got back in the rhythm of things yet. They tell you to come in here get phone numbers, use them, 90 and 90, work the steps, get a sponsor, do some service work. And I've done all of it, every single bit of it. I currently sit here and I have 3 service positions at home group area and with the CPP. I fight for my recovery today, even though it absolutely drives me crazy because of how busy I am. It's like, I didn't complain back then whenever I was busy. My life is beautiful today because of the things that I have through NA. I hope to always have the desire to stay clean because I don't have a desire to use anymore. I don't want to deal with the consequences of my actions. So as long as I continue to stay clean and do what the fuck I'm supposed to do, I think I'll be all right. So I think that's about it. Thanks for letting me share.
I'm an addict named Tori.
Hi, Tori.
Thanks for sharing, Bobby Joe. I'm grateful to be here. Thanks to the committee for asking me. My clean date is February the 18th, 2017, and I was 20 years old when I got clean. If I had stayed clean on my original white key tag, my clean date would have been 11/11/2015, but I did not. So, but that first white key tag, I was 18 years old. My parents are in recovery, so I grew up in Narcotics Anonymous. And I knew what to do, what not to do. And the only reason I bring that up is because this disease doesn't discriminate. It does not matter that my parents are in recovery and I knew what to do. Like, I made that first choice to use and then I didn't have a choice anymore. And my first drug dealer was a doctor and I was in 2nd grade. So, you know, I didn't really realize that that's what it was then. But I remember, like, I have ADHD, so I got a prescription medication for ADHD in 2nd grade. And, like, in hindsight, my parents wouldn't have done that if they knew then what they know now. But they thought that they were doing what was best for me. When I took that medication, like, I was tolerable to be around for other people. Like, adults didn't tell me to stop talking. Like, other kids would play with me because I wasn't so off the frickin' chain. So, like, it made people want to be around me, and that's what I remember from 2nd grade. And that is the story of the rest of my using, is that when I used, other people wanted to be around me, and I wanted to be around other people. And so that's what I did. I broke my back my junior year of high school, and I got my first dose of, like, strong pain medication, and it was fucking over after that. And I used until, jails, institutions, and death. And then some more. And then finally got clean when I was 20. Anyway, all that to be said, like, as far as the desire to stop using goes, like, I didn't have a desire when I got here, like, not even in the slightest. What I had a desire for was that the relationship that I was in at the time was falling apart, because that dude was like a normal guy. Like, he drank on the weekends and he went to work all week, and, like, his shit was together, and he was like, "You are fucked up." And I don't, like, he didn't really know what was going on, but he was like, "Something is not right." So I had a desire for that dude to not leave me, is what I had. And he did, and I'm glad now. But I did not have a desire to stop using, but I did have, like, my life, Bobby Joe talked about the consequences, and I had a desire for the consequences to fucking stop. So, like, I got clean for a little while, and I really had no intentions of staying clean, but I really didn't know what else to do. So when I don't know how long I had clean, probably like 90 days, and this guy named Cecil S. told me that if I bet my life on Narcotics Anonymous that there was nothing that I couldn't go through and get through clean. And I was like, fuck, like what else do I have to lose? I'm 20 years old and in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, so I guess I'll try it. Then I did, and that has been true for me. There has been nothing that I haven't been able to use Narcotics Anonymous to get through clean. And like, I turned 21 in recovery, and I was sketched out, man, about like what the fuck do people that don't use do for their 21st birthday. And I mean, I had the desire to use for my 21st birthday. Like, this is what, like, how are you going to quit drinking before you're legally allowed to drink? Like, I don't really quite understand. So I talked to some people about the fact that I had the desire to use on my 21st birthday before my 21st birthday happened, and they planned me a 21st birthday party and invited a bunch of people in recovery, and I didn't even know some of those motherfuckers. I was like, who are you? But we had a great time, and I made it through that night, and I didn't use, and when I woke up the next morning, the desire was gone, because I just made it through that one night. You know, it was just that one day that I was like, I need to celebrate my 21st birthday, and the people in Narcotics Anonymous got me through that night. You know, like, after that, like, I know that I have a daily reprieve from the desire to use, because I know that because I was just on vacation for a week at the beach, and I didn't go to a meeting. I could have, and I didn't. And like, I had the desire to use. Like, I'm watching all these people on the beach drinking and having a good time, and I'm like, damn, wouldn't that be nice? Like, why can't I just be one of them? And so I went to a fucking meeting. The day I got home, I was like, you need to go. And that desire was lifted again. But I say that to say that I know that that desire comes back for me if I don't continue to maintain what I have created for myself. And I think, like, the first time I experienced that reprieve was when I finished my 4-step and did 5. Because all of that shit in my 4-step that I swore that I was never going to tell another person, like, as soon as I said it, just said it out loud in 5, the guilt and shame was gone. And I was like, damn, that's why I've been getting high all this time, because of that guilt and shame. And it's just a vicious cycle for me. Like, do something, feel guilty, feel shameful, have to use, then I feel guilty and shameful about that, and then I got to use again, and the cycle just continues. So after finishing my 4-step was the first time that I felt a reprieve from the desire to use. And right after that, I had made a commitment to myself and to my sponsor that I wasn't going to get into a relationship until I finished my 4-step. Well, like, right in the middle of my 4-step, I met this dude, and he had, like, I don't know, he'd been out of jail for like 2 days. Like, I'm not kidding. I think he had like 60 days clean because he had been in jail for 60 days. And I met this dude, and like, I had heard a bunch of shit. I didn't know him, and I had heard a bunch of shit, and none of it was good. But he was persistent. And so, like, I had told him that I made this commitment to myself and to my sponsor that I'm not going to date anybody or anything pseudo dating until I finished my 4-step. So, like, the day I finished my 4-step, I went on a date with this guy, and we're married and have a baby and all of that stuff now. But like, thank God that I had finished that 4-step first, because first of all, don't date newcomers. It's a bad idea. But second of all, like, even if he wasn't a newcomer, like, the work that I did in that 4-step, if I had not done it, that relationship would have gotten me high for sure, because it was the hardest relationship that I have ever had. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. Like, it's just a lot of work. Like, being married and having kids and finances and all of that stuff is stressful. And had I not done what I did in step 4, I would have used by now, for sure. And so I'm really grateful for that. because I had over a year clean by that point, and I knew that like that wait until you have a year clean thing, like I needed more time than that. Like some of us are sicker than others, and a year just was not long enough for me. So I'm really, really grateful for that. But one of my reservations in my first step was, like I had a couple of different family members listed on there, and if anything happened to them, I was sure that I was going to use. And I only had 2 living grandparents at the time, and they were both on it. And they were in really good health when I put them on it, so I really wasn't that concerned about it. And on my first anniversary, my grandpa died. And I was sitting in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting when he died. It happened really fast. So I sent a text to one of my best friends, and I said, my grandpa just died. And like she has my location on her phone, and she showed up, and she was there. And she stayed with me for the rest of the day until my home group was that night, until we went to our home group. And that's how Narcotics Anonymous has worked for me the entire time. You know, like I let people know when I got some shit going on, and they show up every single time. And I have also made the choice to have shit going on and sit in here quiet and be pissed off that nobody's helping. And I have done that more than once. And I know that closed mouths don't get fed, but eventually I get to the place where I'm willing to open my mouth and let somebody know what's going on. And once again, the hand of Narcotics Anonymous is there, and somebody helps. You know, I have texted people early on in my recovery like I'm about to use, and they show up and I don't get high, you know. So that's just really how it's always worked. And I had a baby in August, and I was really concerned, like I mentioned, that my first drug dealer was a doctor. So I was very concerned with how that was going to work for me. And my sponsor had been through it, and she twice with C-sections, which I did not have, thank God. But she, you know, reminded me that I don't have to be a martyr, and that I can use pain medication, but also that my brain will lie to me and tell me that I'm in more pain than I really am in. And so she gave me some suggestions, and one of them was to take another woman with me in the hospital, because like my husband was there obviously, but like motherfucker never had a baby. So like the odds that I was going to listen to him tell me whether or not I needed some pain medication were a snowball's chance in hell. So my mom came, and you know, like I was laboring, you know, like I'm fucking screaming my head off, and she's like, now would be a good time for an epidural. Like, you're not supposed to feel like this. It's okay. And so I had the epidural. And then we really didn't talk about pain medication after that. And then, you know, like I delivered, and immediately the doctors were like, here's this, here's that, here's this, here's that. And I didn't take any of it. And I didn't need to. And like, if that's not how it works for you, like if you need it, please take it, you know, like talk to your sponsor, all of that stuff. But I did not need to. And I'm really grateful that I had another person there. Because had I not, like I might have thought that I needed to. Like I went through that whole postpartum period with Tylenol. And that was all that I needed, Tylenol and ice. And like had I not had another person there, I mean my husband being there too, because my husband's obviously also in recovery, so like having them both there, because they couldn't both be there all hours of the day, and the nurses come in there all hours of the day, and every time they came in, it was like, are you sure you don't want something stronger? Like while I'm watching this red lettering pop up on the screen that's like history of substance abuse, and they're like, are you sure you don't want this? And they did that for 3 days. But I was never in that room by myself. So like I knew that I had been, like these people that have been sitting in this room with me have watched me get up and walk around and bebop and fuck around and all of that shit. So they know I'm fine. So if I'm like, yeah, I think I could use something stronger, they're going to be like, bitch, what the fuck? Like, you are okay. And so, like, I took suggestions, and I listened to my body, you know, and I was fine. But somebody prepared me for the potential of that happening, right? Because, like, had they not, I would have gone in there, and because I have had experience as well where I had my wisdom teeth out, all 4 of them at the same time, and I wanted, they had a prescription pain medication that was non-narcotic but was stronger than Tylenol or ibuprofen, and that's what I wanted. And they're like, I can't give you that because you need this narcotic pain medication. And like, I don't need it though. Like, I know that this other thing will work just fine, and it doesn't have to completely take the pain away. Like, I just need it to ease it a little bit. And so, like, I knew that I was going to have that experience again where a doctor was going to tell me that I wasn't going to be able to do it without it. And I did, but that was because, like I said, somebody prepared me for the potential of that happening, and I took somebody else with me. And I don't know, like, I don't, as a general rule, have the desire to use, but I do have the desire to act out in other ways a lot of the time. And I really don't fucking like shopping at all, but I do like the way that spending money makes me feel, whether I need this shit or not. And so, like, that has been a constant battle for me. Like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. And trying to just really quit doing the shit that, quit trying to do shit to change the way that I feel. I personally include, like, I don't want to come to meetings with the intention of trying to change the way that I feel, because, like Bobby Joe was talking about, like, I'm really trying to figure out how to just feel my feelings and identify what they are, and then let them go. Because my experiences, and I had like an experience while I was on vacation where I have avoided this one particular trauma for the last 6 or 7 years, and just like shove, avoid, change the way that I feel, think about something else, whatever, until it finally came to a head while we were on vacation, and I had a fucking meltdown, because I know that I have to feel it eventually. Like, I can only shove for so long before I don't have a choice anymore, and I just have to feel it. So I felt it, I had my little breakdown, I did what I needed to do, and now it's over. Like, if I could have fucking done that 7 years ago, then I would have avoided all of this bullshit that's gone on in the last 7 years trying to avoid. So I really do try to not change the way that I feel today, and just like sit in it. And sometimes, like, there's a guy that an old timer that used to go to this meeting that I went to every single day when I first got clean, and he talks about necessary pain, and like when people die and you're sad, like you're supposed to be sad, like it would be weird for you to not be sad, and so like I just try to like evaluate, like, are the feelings that I'm feeling like rational, and are they normal, and would this be expected in the situation that I'm in? And if it is, then I just like feel the shit and then keep it moving. And you know, like, I had almost a year ago, there's a guy that my dad had sponsored for like 10 years, and he wasn't clean all 10 years, but he died last July, and that was 100% the most painful loss I've ever had in Narcotics Anonymous. But the beautiful part of it for me was like watching the people, because he was very well known and very well loved in my area, and watched people rally around each other and love on each other. to get through that, because it wasn't just me that was hurting, right? Like everybody was. And like watch Narcotics Anonymous work like in my entire area. And then to see like the devastation, because I just never have been that close to the devastation before. Like it has never been that close to home for me until then. And like the desire to use was lifted all over again, because like I'm sitting there with this guy who's already buried his wife and now he's burying his son, you know, and just like watching the havoc that this disease has wreaked. And I don't want to do that today, you know, like I don't want to live like that. And there was a time, and somebody was sharing in my home group on Wednesday about it, but there was a time that I wanted the dope to kill me. Like that's what I wanted, and I don't want to die today. And that's a miracle. The fact that I want to be alive is a miracle. So I'm really grateful for Narcotics Anonymous, and I'm grateful that the desire to use has been lifted just for today. And that I know what to do to continue to keep that desire lifted. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you guys for your stories. If you guys have anything that's on your heart or you want to share about, we still have like 13 more minutes.
Susie, I'm Maddie.
Hey, Susie.
Just to be honest, I still on a regular basis have a desire to use. But I've found that my desire to not use is greater. Because there's, almost every day for the past couple of years, I've had an instance throughout the day where I was like, man, I really would love to just smoke one, and just chill. And another weird thing is that I never really was big on drinking. I would just to hang out with people, but I never really liked the feeling of being drunk. But for the past year, I have wanted to drink more often than I ever have in my life. And it's just because I see other people doing it. And I'm like, man, I wish I could just have one drink. Or I'll go out to eat to a restaurant and I'll see it on the menu and I'll be like, man, that really looks great. Like that sounds so tasty. Like, and it's just like I never really wanted to do that in the past. I just really, just did it every once in a while. Socially, like, oh, it's an occasion, let's it's New Year's, let's, drink. That was really the only time I really drank that night. So I mean, the desire to use is still there for me, but the desire to live a better life, the desire to not go back to jail or prison, the desire to not hurt people, the desire to continue, becoming more financially stable, the desire to continue doing well in school, in college, all those desires override that other desire to use all the time. Like it just squashes it. Like I'll have that desire to use, and then it's like, oh, but this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And what about the people in your room, like in your home group? What would they think? Like, no, and it fights it and squashes it every time. I do remember that I needed a little bit of help though, one time, and I learned how to deal with that through hearing people share and stuff in these rooms. My mom went out of town and she asked me to take care of her animals for her. while she was gone, and I didn't think anything of it, but my mom still smokes weed, and and she, usually she respects my recovery and doesn't do it around me and stuff. Well, she left some shit right there on the fucking table, and that's a huge trigger for me. Like that was really hard. That was really hard for me to go in. And what I did is I kind of just rushed through what I had to do. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. Like I felt scared of myself. I was like, I gotta get out of here. And so the next day, because I had to do it for the weekend, the next day I took another recovering addict with me there. I was like, I don't care if my mom gets mad, I brought somebody with me, I don't give a shit. She left some shit on the fucking table, I don't even want to fucking touch it. Like, I'm not gonna move it, I'm not gonna hide it, because I don't know where the fuck it is. Like, it's like, and so, I took somebody with me, and they helped me through it. Just them being present made me feel like I didn't want it anymore. Like, I don't know how it worked that way, but just them being present just made it go away. That desire, that trigger of it being there. It's like it no longer had power over me if I had another recovering addict with me. And I made it through that weekend. And the only way I did that was through help, and thank God I have people, that I can reach out to and get that help from. We don't have to do this shit alone. I lost my dad recently. My dad died. And that was really fucking hard for me. And it still hits me sometimes. But I have people in these rooms that, checks on me and sees how I'm doing and, is there for me and holds me when I'm crying about it. And, and I don't normally want to use when I'm upset, but there is one drug that I want to use when I'm upset, and that's weed. That was my go-to for, and I didn't really realize that until like just recently that was my go-to for when I was stressed about something. That's, I don't know, I consider that one of my strongest DOCs, I guess, now, which I didn't really think was. I thought I just used it socially, but really I used it for all sorts of reasons that I didn't even realize. I'm just thankful that I've become more aware of that now, and that I can get through these desires to, use with a stronger desire not to use. I'm glad that I've built up that stronger desire not to use. And that when I'm not strong enough, I can reach out and get some help from other fellow recovering addicts who understand what I'm going through. And I don't have to feel bad for needing help, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. And I'm okay with that now. I used to not be okay with that. And now I am. I'm okay with asking for help. I'm like, oh, I need some help. You gotta help me. I used to be the type of person who was like, I can do this shit. I got this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's strong, I think I'm strong, and stuff. And Taurus, I can do this shit. And now I'm like, no, I need some help. Will you please help me? Like, please. So I'm grateful today that I have friends in recovery that help me through it when I'm not strong enough, and that I have built up a desire to stop using that is stronger than my desire to use. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing. Hi, Nathan.
Desire to stop using. They don't worry about how young, how old, whatever I've done in my past and all that, but what I want to do about my problem, how they can help. Because that really helped me out when I came in the program, young, clean, and nowadays it still sticks. And that's just what I like about the program. You know, it didn't matter where I was coming from, all that great stuff that's in the readings. But, you know, what am I done? You know, do I have the desire to be clean? And am I done? That's all I got, Lane.
Thanks for sharing. My name's Pam, and that's all the time that we have. Didn't get a chance to share, talk to somebody after the meeting. Can I get someone to read We Do Recover? Hey.
We do recover from the end of the road. We can find that we can no longer function as human beings neither without the road. We all face the same dilemmas. Will that we continue to be this alternative we are going to press being the bitter injustice institution for death. We will live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last voice. Those who are here today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way to improve themselves and lives of many addicts is available to us all. It's as simple as prayers and non-religious program.
Welcome home. Thank you. Thank you.
Circle. Huh? Say again.
Circles?